And that, my friends, is how it's done. Faisal, I know you're going to complain about that, but my guy, we were going to win it either way. But hey, I did mention that because there is a lot of stuff to whine about if you're a Valencia fan. Weird refereeing from Sotogrado. I think should have been one pen, and then immediately afterward, arguably could have been another. Ended up being a foul on Koundé, which I think is fair, but not the best refereeing job. We absolutely destroyed the hell out of Valencia, though. And I think there are some really good performances here that need to be talked about, and we're going to get into later in the video. But it's nice to see the boys come out and do this again. Again, show that we can still do it, especially in La Liga, where we've been so, let's say, dog shit for so long. This is nice to see it for us. This is our first win in 4 match days, and I think it's been about a month, if not more than a month, I think, since our last win, which is bad. Now, La Liga isn't wrapped up, and I know it's easy to say it is, but realistically, we're 7 points back from Madrid, which is a lot, but we still have yet to play them. So we win that match, we're 4 points back in Madrid. And that's a much different story, especially seeing how La Liga's gone in the past couple of years. It's never wrapped up this early. Things can happen. Things can change. We'll see how that goes. Atleti is in a similar spot. They're only 3 points ahead of us, though, and those points can all be made up in a match day against them. La Liga's not over. They can still perform in La Liga, clearly. Yes, Valencia put out a team and a setup where that allows Barcelona to thrive. Wasn't their best work, almost certainly, but it is what it is. It's a huge dub. Great performances from the boys, and some really good specific performances that I want to analyze to give them credit where credit is due. Starting off at the back, as we always do, Chesney, not your best work, sir. Ended up conceding, but easily could have conceded 3, I would probably argue. Just terrible finishing from Valencia. And then they deserved a penalty. I think that first pen non-call on Casado's tackle on the player, that's a pen. And that whole play, also, it's basically Barca tries to play a high line, they get in behind a little bit, and Kubarsi shifts over, leaving space one-on-one, or where Casado has to defend the striker, but he's like behind his man already. And so I don't like the fact that Kubarsi shifted over so much, because there wasn't really a ton to defend there, and I'd rather him run ahead of the striker so he could block off a pass there potentially. And Eric Garcia had lost the ball in the build-up. So you could call a lot of criticisms out here. It's not just the Poles' fault, but there's a lot of blame here. I think Kubarsi actually didn't really have a great day, and neither really did Eric Garcia. We'll get into why I think that, though, a little bit later. Overall, Chesney, I'm going to give him a 5.5. I really don't think it's his greatest performance. We saw him bring down a guy. It ended up being called off because Koundé had been fouled in the build-up. But, it's just not a great sign from him. It's not something you want to see him doing. And he's still really not warm into the way Barcelona play just yet, and trying to figure out a way where he can still be good and offer the team something of what they need while still not putting him so far outside of his comfort zone that he isn't really good at it anymore. And again, before you jump on him, he played for Juventus, who played one of the highest or the deepest lines in football when they were the best. They played very defensive. So he always had that support there. And he's a good shot stopper, even for us. We know that. But he's not a perfect player. He made mistakes, and he's going to while he figures out how to play in the system. He may never be perfect here, but he can make saves. Today wasn't his best performance. Now, moving up, I think Koundé and Balde were both really good. Balde ended up walking out with an assist, played a couple of good balls, and made a couple of really good, expansive runs, too. I think it was a really good game from him. Again, another really good game in the row of maybe 3 or 4 really good matches for him. I think he well deserves an 8. You could probably argue more. Koundé, I'm going to give him an 8 as well, but I think Balde was better. I just wanted to make that point. Koundé did a lot more defensive work, wasn't thriving going forward by any means, but did more defensive work, and especially with Eric Garcia in there, who's not used to playing at center back, and a back line that's not used to really being together. It's important to have Koundé there. He made a couple of important tackles there as well. Eric Garcia, I think he was okay. Again, lost the ball in the buildup that led to Chesney's foul, which again got called off, but not his warmest performance. Won the header a couple times, fouled the guys a couple of times. I think it was a pretty average performance from him, but not terrible, right? I'm okay with him playing these matches in La Liga when it's, we don't want to run out Araujo maybe, or maybe even playing for Kubarsi on some days, which I think he really needs a break. That would have been great to see. But, in the end, 7 I think is pretty fair for Eric Garcia, but I'm going to give Pau Kubarsi a 6.5. Now, he ended up getting an assist. He played a couple really good long balls, and I think that's something we love to focus on. And it's so exciting to see him play these crazy stretches of play over to Lamine sometimes, and it works out a lot. Really, really well. But today, defensively, I just feel like he was behind his man a lot, and they got him behind him pretty easily. And maybe that's not having the support of Araujo there, but it's also signs something we saw a little bit of against Benfica, where they were getting beaten in behind, and Araujo was trying to find a way to compensate for that, because Cubarsí just was getting beat by his man, and he doesn't have the pace to catch back up. I think there's some positional things that he has to figure out, and call me out if I'm wrong. I don't fully understand this. I'd never played center back, but it feels like it's off a little bit there, and he's still a good player, still had a good game, still did some really good things for us, but that doesn't mean he's a perfect player. I think it's fair to call some things out when you have some questions of players. So that's all I had to say for him. Again, not the best performance in the back line today, but we did walk out only conceding one. Probably could have been more if Valencia were even competent, though, in front of net. That brings us to the midfield and Frankie de Jong and Casado. I think both of them were pretty good. I think Frankie was better. I think Frankie was comfortable, scored the opener, and put a really good finish on the ball, too. Filled in the space well. He looked so much more comfortable today than he has all season. All season. And yes, this was the easiest game we've probably played since Real Valladolid earlier this year, but great job from Frankie today. Great job warming into his position, doing his job well, maintaining possession, holding, actually running with the ball too, a little bit, not a ton, but a little bit and enough, and finishing chances. Good job, Frankie. I think he deserves an 8. I think that's very fair. Casado, I think, was good. Not as good as Frankie, but did his job defensively, put a couple really good tackles in there, and was decent in possession. I think a 7.5 is very fair as well. Then we got the boys up front, and it was really exciting from them today. They created a boatload of chances. We scored 7. It could have been 13, and I would have been like, yeah, makes sense. They did finish really well in the first half. That's part of the reason they scored, 6 in the first, five in the first half. We'll start with Lamine. I think Lamine put in some, I think he was robbed of 2 or 3 more assists than he ended up getting. Ended up only getting 1 assist, I think, but I'm going to give an 8.5 to Lamine, actually. 8.5 to Lamine, 8.5 to Rafinha. Both did a lot of really good things, ran into space well. Rafinha did his job giving Lamine options to play balls in, and then Lamine had a couple, tried to create some insane goal moments. It didn't come together, but dribbled through a couple players and then tried to put, tried to get that final shot off and didn't really, but he's getting close to making some dirty highlight reel plays, and we'll probably see that in the next couple matches. And I'm going to go to Ferran Torres before I get to Fermin, because I have a lot to say on Fermin. But Ferran Torres was fine. I think he was really good in the first half, moved into position well, held the ball up better. You could see that he just has so much more mobility than Lewandowski, and that's obvious, right? Of course he does. But we saw it today. We saw it on full display, and it worked out pretty well. In the second half, though, we saw him not finishing as well as Lewandowski, or not finishing very well at all. Missed a couple of open chances, maybe didn't play a ball in the best, and wasn't on 100%. He did get moved away from striker, though, eventually. Was playing on the left wing. And then I feel like he quieted down a little bit while there. Fermin Lopez is my man of the match. 2 goals and 2 assists, I believe, for him. And God, guys, this is huge. Because he had such a mid-season so far where he wasn't that impressive, wasn't able to do a ton in the few moments that he was getting. Before today, he had played 500 minutes in all competitions. That's very little football. And for somebody who had all the expectations on him, or a lot of them after the Olympics, it was disappointing to see. We were talking about that on the YouTube live stream before we went over to Big Up. But hey, seeing what he did today, seeing him drop some incredible balls in behind, really, really well done, right? Perfectly weighted. And we saw how substantial that was when Lewandowski and then Ferran Torres were in the similar positions, not being able to put the right weight on the pass. Great job from Fermin today. Yeah, I think he easily deserves a 9, 9.5, 10, whatever you want to give him. He's the man of the match. Incredible job, and obviously finished pretty well as well to walk out there with 2. Not bad at all from the kid. I'm so happy for him. I also wish Lewandowski scored 2 and assisted 2 just for the stat padding, right? Mbappe scored a hattie yesterday. It would have been great to see Lewandowski do some stat padding, and we did. We did see the subs come on and do some of that, so I'll get into that right now. Jordan Martin, I think he was fine. I think a 7 is fair. Lewandowski, yeah, Unk still's got the shot on him, man. Great finish for him. A 7.5, that was dirty as hell. Maybe an 8. That was so good. Hector Fort, fine. I think he did okay. Not substantial. I think the game was slowing down after the 70th minute. They were going a little bit easier at that point. Pau Victor, though, I thought he was good. I feel bad. I wish he got more minutes, and I could say the exact same for Pablo Torre. I'll give him both. Actually, I think Pau Victor was better. I'll give Pau Victor a 7, Pablo Torre a 6, maybe a 5. I don't think Pablo Torre was good. He came in a deeper role than he's used to because he came in for Frankie. But realistically, I want to see more from the kid. I don't know. It wasn't his greatest performance today. And I think they both deserve minutes. We'll see if they get them with Danny Olmo out for the next couple weeks. Maybe that's an option, but FERMIN was so good today. I don't know. I'm excited to see what they line up against Atalanta with, because this was a fun game today. And Atalanta has been really good. They aren't just going to sit back. They are an expansive, fun football team where there's going to be space for Barcelona to play football. And when there's space for Barca to play football, they play football. So I know that was the best insight you'll ever hear, but they are genuinely very exciting, and so is Atalanta. This is going to be a really good game on Wednesday. And I'm going to be streaming again on Big Up, as I always do. Links in the description. It's free. But I also think it's a very good test where we are going to have some weeks off because we are almost certainly going to be in the top 8, so we get a bye into the next round. That will allow us to have 2 matches off. Teams that don't get that are going to have to play 2 extra matches, a home and an away leg. And that's just so much freedom for us. It gives us a little bit more time. Obviously, that'll be made up with Copa del Rey and matches and other stuff like that. But overall, great position to be in for the boys. I'm so excited for Fermin Lopez. I'm so happy for Rafinha and Lamine and Lewandowski all adding goals and assists to their tallies. They've been missing a lot in La Liga. Everybody has. It's been really disappointing. To come out like this and do it 4-0 up by the 25th minute, it's reassuring to me. And it's something we needed to see from the side to ensure some confidence that they could do this again in La Liga. There are a lot of questions to ask about this team defensively, though. So we'll see how they answer that question against Atalanta, because they are a very talented attacking team. De Ketelaere has been on it. Lookman obviously has been on it. So they're going to have some challenges. Araujo will probably almost certainly be in against them on Wednesday. We'll see how that lines up. But thank you for watching. Visca Barça, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.